The serene and predictable rhythm of suburban life in St. Johns County, Florida, was suddenly and violently interrupted on the night of January 7th, 2024. What had begun as a routine evening for many residents quickly spiraled into a nightmarish scene of chaos and devastation. The once quiet neighborhood, where the hum of daily life typically provided a sense of comfort and stability, was soon overtaken by the blaring of emergency sirens, the agonized cries of the injured, and the stunned silence of onlookers grappling with the sudden horror before them. The night, which had promised nothing out of the ordinary, became the backdrop for a tragic series of events that would leave a lasting mark on the community. The collision, a catastrophic moment of impact. A frantic call to emergency services shattered any illusion of normalcy, replacing it with an urgent plea for help. The incident was not a simple accident, but a disastrous event brought on by actions that could have been prevented. First responders arrived to a scene that starkly illustrated the devastating consequences of reckless driving. The street, once just another stretch of suburban pavement, had been transformed into a grim tableau of destruction. Skid marks streaked across the asphalt, bearing silent testimony to the last desperate moments before impact. Shattered glass lay scattered across the roadway like jagged stars against the dark pavement. Mangled debris from the vehicles was strewn across the scene, a stark reminder of the violent force unleashed that night.
I was sitting in my car waiting for my two friends. I'm the designated driver tonight. Okay. And I remember just seeing that car over there. That probably a drunk driver hit that girl in the pink shirt. I only saw her body fly. I did not see the second girl get hit.
I only saw one.
And then I just remember him just like driving straight.
Okay.
And then he crashed.
Alright.
Oh my god. That could have been our friends.
I know. Let me figure out. Y'all just three. Y'all stay right here.
Okay.
Do not go anywhere.
Yes.
Witnesses stood frozen, their expressions mirroring the horror they had just witnessed. The impact itself was not merely a collision of metal and motion. It was a moment that tore apart the fragile fabric of normal life, leaving behind trauma, irreparable damage, and a lingering sense of sorrow that would haunt all who were present. Witness testimony, the horrifying chain of events. Those who had been unfortunate enough to witness the event provided harrowing accounts, their voices filled with shock, disbelief, and residual fear. Despite the chaos, their testimonies wove together a chillingly clear picture of the moment of impact. Some described seeing a human figure being thrown into the air, an image seared into their memories with haunting clarity. The estimated speed of the vehicle, somewhere between 40 and 50 miles per hour, emphasized the reckless force behind the crash. These numbers were not just figures in a report. They represented the severity of the impact and the vulnerability of the victims caught in its path. The gruesome details, bodies rolling over the windshield, the horrifying sound of the collision, and the anguished cries of the injured, only deepened the sense of tragedy. One witness, who had seen the victims only moments before, recalled the heart-stopping moment they heard the impact, turning just in time to see one of the victims hurtling through the air. The weight of their words carried an undeniable emotional charge, underscoring the lasting trauma left behind by the crash. Some bystanders, frozen in shock, could do nothing but watch in horror, their minds struggling to process the sheer violence of what had unfolded before them. Others rushed forward in desperation, their instincts compelling them to offer help despite the overwhelming carnage. The mixture of grief, helplessness, and terror hung thick in the air, a grim reminder of how quickly life could be shattered in an instant. Shannon King, the driver and the signs of impairment. At the center of the incident was 21-year-old Shannon King, whose behavior in the aftermath of the crash presented a stark contrast to the devastation around her. Deputies who arrived at the scene described her demeanor as unfazed, a word that painted a deeply unsettling picture. In a moment when one might expect remorse, shock, or even panic, King appeared detached from the gravity of the situation. Observations of her physical state left little doubt about the contributing factors in the crash. The distinct smell of alcohol clung to her, her speech was slurred, and her movements were unsteady, all unmistakable signs of intoxication. Her condition was not open to speculation, but was instead a glaring reality observed by those on the scene. The dissonance between the tragedy unfolding around her and her own apparent lack of emotional response only added another disturbing layer to an already harrowing event. Even as first responders scrambled to assess the wreckage and tend to the victims, King remained disturbingly aloof, her expression unreadable. It was as if she were merely a spectator rather than the person responsible for the devastation. Each passing second only reinforced the chilling reality of the situation, deepening the unease felt by those around her. The legal process, tests, arrest, and the pursuit of justice. The legal system, designed to uncover the truth and ensure accountability, set into motion a meticulous process to assess the extent of Shannon King's impairment and establish her culpability. Standardized field sobriety tests, critical tools in determining a driver's physical and cognitive abilities, were administered with unwavering precision. Each test, from the horizontal gaze nystagmus to the walk and turn and one-leg stand, was not a mere formality but an essential measure of her ability to function. These exercises, which require basic motor coordination and balance, became damning evidence as King struggled through them, unable to maintain control. Her failure was not subtle, it was glaring, an undeniable demonstration of her intoxication. However, it was the breathalyzer test, an empirical and indisputable measurement that provided the final, irrefutable proof of her impairment. The readings, .160 and .162, registered nearly twice the legal limit, reinforcing the severity of her actions. This was not a minor lapse in judgment or a slight overindulgence. It was a clear violation of the law, an act that recklessly endangered lives. As law enforcement officials worked methodically to document her condition,
and it's late and my mom is probably scared. I'm scared.
King's statements painted an unsettling picture of her mindset. Rather than expressing concern for the victims or the gravity of the situation, she lamented her own discomfort, stating, "My hands hurt, and I got to pee, and it's late, and my mom is probably scared. I'm scared." These words, detached from the immense suffering unfolding before her, reflected a startling self-focus, underscoring the lack of immediate remorse or acknowledgement of the devastation she had caused. As the legal system moved forward in its duty to bring justice, the weight of her actions became inescapable, setting the stage for the consequences that would follow. The victims, Addie Meyers and Riley McGovern, the enduring scars of trauma. The collision did not just create a moment of impact, it forever altered the lives of two young women, Addie Meyers and Riley McGovern. Their names were not just footnotes in a police report or case file, they were individuals with aspirations, ambitions, and promising futures that had been violently and unjustly disrupted. Addie, a dedicated soccer player at Flagler College, had devoted years to honing her athletic skills, striving toward a future that now stood uncertain. Riley, too, had a path of her own, one that was now overshadowed by medical procedures, rehabilitation, and the daunting process of recovery. The injuries they sustained were not just physical wounds that would heal with time. They were profound traumas that would require intensive medical intervention, ongoing therapy, and emotional resilience. The moment deputies informed Shannon King of the victim's severe injuries, the stark weight of her reckless decisions should have been impossible to ignore. Yet, as Addie and Riley were rushed to the hospital, their lives hanging in the balance, the contrast between their suffering and King's reaction became all the more glaring. Every second mattered as medical professionals fought to stabilize them, and every step in their recovery would be a testament to the immense challenges they would have to overcome. The road ahead for these young women was uncertain, defined not only by physical healing, but also by the psychological scars left in the wake of an event that should never have happened. Legal consequences and the pursuit of accountability.
Get up, get up.
Hey, sir. You have anything you need to know of? No, stop twisting my arm. Stop resisting now. I'm not resisting. Stop twisting my arm.
Listen to what he said.
Shut up.
The justice system, operating with a clear intent to enforce accountability, ensured that Shannon King would face the legal repercussions of her actions. When she entered a no-contest plea, it was more than just a legal maneuver. It was an acknowledgement, whether explicit or implicit, of the damage she had inflicted. This decision spared the victims and their families the emotional toll of a drawn-out trial, though it could never undo the suffering caused. The sentence handed down, 4 years and 10 months in prison, was not just about penalizing an individual. It was a decisive statement on the seriousness of her offenses. It underscored the notion that reckless endangerment of human life would not be dismissed or treated lightly. The weight of the sentence was not only meant to bring some measure of justice to Addie and Riley, but also to serve as a stark warning to others who might consider making similar choices. In a society where impaired driving continues to claim lives, this ruling sought to reinforce the message that such actions bear severe, unavoidable consequences. Reply forward. Add reaction.